let's get right into it though with the Golden Globes. We got to talk about the Golden Globes. The ratings were just released before we actually reveal what the ratings for the Golden Globes were this year. Do you have any thoughts about last night's show now that you've had some time to kind of process?
Yeah, it's weird, but the best thing to come out of the Golden Globes are the acceptance speeches, and the surprise ones, not the planned ones, with the exception of Eddie Murphy. But oh my God, it was everything you despise about Hollywood, and they embraced it that night.
Yeah, it's again, what's interesting is actually the best part of the show were all the acceptance speeches, as you pointed out, and also I think the winners were pretty good. It was a pretty good mix of different. I mean, look, the purpose of an award show, I believe, is to number one, entertain you, be funny, interesting, maybe some cultural commentary, but not in a lectury way, but just like be entertaining. Secondarily, it's a way to discover a whole bunch of TV shows and movies you may not have known about had you not watched the show. So
was it Black Bear, the Paul Walter Hauser show? I'm kind of
Blackbird. It was Blackbird.
Okay.
I'm going to zoom in on this. We showed this chart last night. I want Alan to pay particular attention, Alan, to the wait. I want you to pay particular attention. This is, if you could explain this chart. This chart is the ratings of the Oscars and the Golden Globes, which are arguably two of the biggest award shows, right? These are the two biggest ones. But look at the numbers in gold, in the sort of orangish, that is the Golden Globes, and the blue is the Oscars. Look at these ratings for the Oscars in its height, the 43.7. This is over the last 20 years. Okay. The Oscars was getting Super Bowl type ratings. I mean, and many have said that they call it the gay Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, are these the shares? I mean, that's
audience share.
So yeah. So 43.7, that's 43% of households were watching the Oscars.
Correct. And Golden Globes were getting about half of that, which is incredibly impressive. 43% of households of people watching television at any given moment were watching the Oscars, and the Golden Globes were giving the Oscars a run for their money, arguably a more fun show, in particular when Ricky Gervais hosted. But that number, before, last year they were canceled. But that number there, Alan, the very last Golden Globes, the one that was done was a, what's that number there? The lower
6.9, 69. Yeah. But that was the COVID show.
Right. So now, do you have any idea what the ratings are for that last night?
To be generous, I'll say 10 something.
No, you got to cut that. It's even lower. It's
Is it 5?
I mean, you can Google it and find it. 5.3 are the early ratings.
Okay.
So it dropped by 1.6. I think a lot of that having to do with that opening, that opening speech was, I mean, in addition to being unfunny and uncomfortable, I like the idea of sort of calling out, the organization on their BS.
Yeah.
But I think there was more to the story, but then it went on too long, where it became all about Gerard Carmichael's experience rather than talking to an audience of potentially millions of people watching this at home.
Yeah.
Right. That's what it was. So
plus it had that prime Tuesday night spot too, which
the prime Tuesday night spot. But those ratings shouldn't surprise anybody. 5.3. Any other takeaways from the Golden Globes?
Yeah, I want to talk about that opening monologue because I watched it again, got to think about it a little more. But oddly enough, that opening monologue was probably the most narcissistic moment you've ever seen in awards history. And that's saying something about the room they're in. Because that entire speech was about him. It was about me. It was, every sentence started with I did this. They called me. And he's talking about himself. And and how I don't know, he just went about this long roundabout way of talking about how he didn't want to be the black face of a white racist show. You know, talking to people about whether he should do it or not, and um, you know, just kind of passive aggressively stating that everyone in that room's racist. The Hollywood Foreign Press is racist. But he, you know, he ended it. The last thing he said is he did it for the people in the room who he admired, and that was a long way to get there. And not a single joke. It was just a story that, you know, that was there to kind of kind of dig into the people in the room and to make them uncomfortably laugh and applaud. And you know, and again, this is a TV show that's going out to the world, and he was speaking to the room. He was not speaking to us, the audience, and that ultimately is the reason that those first 10 minutes killed the broadcast.
It really did. It sort of set you could hear it was uncomfortable. It was silent during most of it. He did the sort of thing that you would do, say, in a concert or a spoken word, where he kind of sat down and leaned into the audience.
Yeah, he's trying to pull a Bill Cosby, essentially.
It didn't. Well, I mean, it depends on what you mean by pulling a Bill
Well,
Cosby.
I mean, because Cosby just
feel.
sits there and chats and talks, and
Right.
you know, and at least he had jokes. Cosby tells jokes in it, but it's about just sitting down, chatting about how he feels, and you know, opining about his life.
Well, you know, there is another award show that you and I will be attending on Sunday. Alan and I'm going to show photographic proof. If you go to the Film Threat Instagram, I just posted some photos of you and I over the last couple weeks, like going to events. You're feeding your dog on the stream?
Yeah, I'm trying to get her to chew on this rawhide bone so she's not moaning throughout the whole the whole stream.
All right. Well, that's good to hear. Yeah. But I think our overall impression of the Globes was
hated it.
But you know, but there is another award show this weekend that I think is still going to be fraught with some of the same problems. It hasn't with our organization, the CCA, the Critics' Choice Awards. I think they really aspire to do a show that is entertaining and just tells you about the movies. It's also the show that more accurately predicts what the Oscar nominees are going to be, which, Alan, the Oscar nominees are going to be announced very soon. We're going to do a live cast. I think we're getting up at 5 a.m. to do it.
What is that, Friday morning?
Did you research it and find out?
Yeah, I'll find out.
Okay. In the meantime, Alan and I will be this Sunday, we're going to be at the Critics' Choice Awards. Alan and I are both voting members of that organization. It's a group of about 450 members, all film critics in various capacities. There are film critics in the organization that do YouTube, film critics in the organization that do radio, television, that write. It's a good cross section of lots of various types of critics. So, and I'm proud to be a part of the organization. Don't always agree with every result, but that's why, you know, look, I vote. I'm a voting member. Okay. Which means, no surprise, I voted for RRR in every category in which it was nominated. But here's a little promo for the Critics' Choice Awards. You know, just tune in. You might see Alan and we might even do a little mini impromptu live stream from the event.
Sunday, January 15th. The stars of film and television come together for a night of fun, fashion, plus a special Lifetime Achievement Award for Hollywood legend Jeff Bridges. Chelsea Handler hosts the 28th Annual Critics' Choice Awards. Special live event Sunday, January 15th, only on the CW.
And you can stream it free on the CW app. I didn't even know that until we played that. Look, I just want to let people know about it in case, you know, it's a different type of award show. It does have sort of like the cheesiness of a lot of things that people, I think, are disliking about award shows. But yeah, there you go. When are the Oscars going to be announced?
The week from Tuesday, January 24th.
So January 24th, Alan and I will be getting up at 5 a.m. and live reacting to the Oscar nominations and offering our predictions. So Glanuccio is already coming up with some funny things. It's going to be, you know what it's going to be, Alan and I. Here's my pitch for a thumbnail. Take one of those classic photos of the Three Stooges, you know, when they sleep together in bed, and they sleep in like, it's like a onesie, but they have
Yeah.
like this hat, but it's the Three Stooges in bed. It's Alan and I in bed, but then there's an Oscar in the middle of us. And
Oh.
and we're sleeping, we're getting up early in the morning to give you the Oscar predictions. That's my Glanuccio. I saw him kind of smile. I saw him kind of Glanuccio in our digital green room is smiling about. That's my pitch for a graphic for the thumbnail for that thing.
We're upgrading from the bunk beds.
Yeah, upgrading from the bunk beds. It's Alan and I in bed with an Oscar. And Glenn, please, you don't need to be there for you. You don't need to be there. Alan and I will handle
it. We'll take care of it.
We'll take care of it. Just
you're 3 hours ahead, so you'll be awake. So.
Yeah, yeah, but I don't know. But anyways, so there you go. I think on the Golden Globes, here's where I see things going. Well, one, the ratings continue to fall, and there's already talk of the SAG Awards going to Netflix because these awards are generating. You need a budget to do one of these shows.
Yeah.
So why not Netflix, who spends a lot of money seeking nominations? Why don't they just run the awards on Netflix? And I think you're going to see Netflix get more and more into live events as a way to sell the platform. I already think personally, I think that HBO Max and Netflix are my two personal favorite of the streaming services in terms of the broad variety of content, shows worth discovering. There's some good stuff on Hulu as well. I think I talked about last night. I really enjoyed The Dropout with Amanda Seyfried. How do you pronounce her name?
Seyfried.
Seyfried? Is that it? Okay.
I believe so.
Cool. And so there you are.